Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough. It's That Kevin Show. A number of years ago, my next guest, we started telling you a little bit about her story. Actually, Kelsey Bolar was the one that brought her story first to our attention. But Prisha Mosley rejoins us. We were last together in Manhattan on a night when they were telling stories, the stories of detransitioning in America. And Prisha, you put out on, welcome back, by the way, and you put out on social media this week that you were very happy with one of the executive orders that President Trump has signed. Tell us why and relate it to how it fits your story.
Yeah, so I'm someone who was transitioned starting as a minor. I went to my doctors expressing trauma and trauma responses and an eating disorder. But when I said that I felt like a boy, all medical ethics just went to the side, and I was treated for quote unquote gender dysphoria with drugs, chemicals, and surgery. And this makes no sense for someone suffering with mental distress. This executive order addresses that. It stops providers from taking the saddest and most vulnerable of children who believe that they were born wrong and stops them from agreeing with that child and prescribing chemicals and surgery.
And he signed, I think it's two orders along this line, one addressing the chemicals and one addressing the actual surgeries. I think a lot of people are confused, Prisha, in the idea that they would think that these types of things would not be legal for children under the age of 18 or able to have their own conscious decision being made. But it has. It's happened in states. It happened to you. It's happened in other places. And sometimes states trying to go around the parents, not even letting the parents have a say in it.
Yeah, it's awful. It's because of the manipulative language of activists. They say gender affirming care is life saving care. And that's one of the reasons I actually like the name of the executive order. He calls it mutilation and chemical harm of children. It's not gender affirming care. There's no type of therapy where you affirm your hatred of yourself. But that's exactly what people who call themselves experts in the field are doing. They are affirming a child's hatred of themselves and doing so with chemicals and surgery. And it's happening a lot.
4 years ago, you had an administration that came in and kind of poured gas on that whole issue. It was like a fire that was already starting to roar, but they just exploded it across our country. Prisha, tell us a little bit about the journey that you took and what made you decide to stop the transition and to wish to not transition.
I really believed when I was transitioning, I believed my doctors. I believed that I was really going to undergo an actual sex change and transform into a boy who had never been hurt, who had never been traumatized, and who was safe. And yeah, you're right about the old administration really casting fuel on that fire. Just they helped spread the lies. There's nothing life-saving about giving surgery and drugs to a child. We've already tried to remove the body parts of women who are distressed, calling them hysterical and removing their uteruses in a hysterectomy. We know it doesn't work.
What you really needed, and what I've learned from working with Kelsey all this time, is that what a lot of people need that are in those situations as young people is not treatment for gender dysphoria, but actually treatment for underlying psychological trauma and issues that they are facing. Is it your belief that the overwhelming number of children, if they were to receive the actual diagnosis and care for what they are really in need of, that this discussion of gender dysphoria would in many ways kind of dry up?
Absolutely. Gender dysphoria and the treatment of it is a scapegoat for clinicians who don't want to work on hard cases. They don't want to do the hard work. They don't want to work through trauma or family things or things going on at school or actual mental illness. They just want to affirm and shut a patient up by drugging them and making them temporarily happy with surgery.
What happened to you when you began to address the underlying issues? How did your life begin to change? Did you feel hope when you actually turned to what the problem was?
Yeah, I mean, it made an incredible difference. I mean, the clarity came at a high cost. I realized that my doctors had lied to me and that the whole thing was a scam, a lie, and fraud. But I gained a lot too. I'm able to have deeper and more personal relationships because I'm being honest with myself and others. I'm able to have a better relationship with myself because I can face myself and I'm not hiding behind a wall of trauma and a mask of a man that doesn't actually, I never transformed into.
The idea that you can just fix something with a surgery and some pills has been pretty thoroughly debunked. You talked about Europe and how it's not. We're kind of late on the detransition bandwagon. If you look globally, America's kind of running behind the tide there. But it takes more than executive orders. What ultimately would you like to see done by way of laws created to protect kids that were in your situation?
I would like to see Congress take these bills and make them law. I would like to see detransitioners able to sue and hold their providers accountable. And I would like there to be accountability for people who have called themselves professionals and then done this to children who just needed help. There needs to be accountability. It's not right. Crimes have been committed.
And why do you use that word in particular? I think I know, but I just want my viewers and listeners to hear it.
Children can't consent. It's perverse to change a child in a way they can't understand, to change someone's future before they're able to grasp who and what they are, to take away body parts that they haven't been truly introduced to because they're too young. It's barbaric. And I had no chance to know better when I was young and I wasn't well and I was in the throes of distress, but my doctors knew better and they made money off of my distress anyway.
Um, how old were you when you started down the journey of transitioning?
The medicalization started at 16.
Wow. Yeah, you hardly know what you think at 16. I mean, and there's a reason that we don't give 16-year-olds drinking privileges and driving privileges in a lot of states, and there's a lot of things that we restrict from people that young. Fully
Certainly.
understanding one's anatomy and biology at that point, especially sexual desire and the proclivity to create and everything else. I just don't think that a child that young is in the age to know.
Not to mention, it's normal to not want to breastfeed when you're 16 years old or 17 or even 18 or 19 or maybe 20. You know, that is really something for an older adult and a woman. It's normal to be disgusted by that idea as a teenager. It really is. It's normal and it's okay. It doesn't mean that you need to have your breasts removed.
Prisha Mosley, everyone, and you can find out more of her story at iwf.org.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.